Hello, this is Mrs. Hyman. Games. At a park, you can drop a beanbag on a painted target from an altitude of 15 feet. The initial velocity of the bag when it leaves your hand is 10 feet per second. The drop of the beanbag is modeled by h of t equals negative 16t squared plus 46t plus 6, where t is the time in seconds after the bag is dropped. How long is the beanbag in the air? Well, what they're really asking us here is to take this expression and find out when that equals 0. Because when we're asking the question, how long is the beanbag in the air, we want to know when does it reach the ground. And when it reaches the ground, then the height's going to be 0. So what we're going to do is take the expression, negative 16t squared plus 46t plus 6, we want to find out when does that equal 0. And we're going to do that using some factoring. So the first thing that we would do is to factor out our greatest common factor of negative 2. So negative 2 comes out front here. That means we're going to divide each of these terms by negative 2. So that gives us 8t squared minus 23t minus 3. We're going to find out when that equals 0. Well, now we're going to take our resulting expression in the parentheses, and we're going to factor that a little bit further. So we still have negative 2, and we're going to try to factor this a little further so we can find out when it equals 0. Well, I'm going to start with the factors of 3. Since 3 is prime, our only choices are 3 and 1. So I'm going to put those in here, 3 and 1. Now we know that one of those has to be a negative because we actually have negative 3 here. And we're going to decide on that sign here in just a minute. And then we're going to take a look at 8t squared. Well, factors of 8, we could either have 2 and 4 or 8 and 1. And what we have to think about along with that is whatever we choose to go here and here, we have to multiply 3 times this value and 1 times this value, and it has to give us negative 23t in the middle. So I'm going to use 1t and 8t because I need a fairly large number in the middle, and we're going to check this and decide on our signs now. So when we multiply 3 times 8t, that's 24t, and 1t times 1 would just be 1t. And in order to get a negative 23t in the middle, that means I would need negative 24 and positive 1. So to get negative 24, that means I need a subtraction sign here, or a negative, and I need a positive here. So now we have our factors, and we can use each of those factors and set each one individually equal to 0 to solve our equation. So our first factor, t minus 3, we'll set it equal to 0. And if we solve that for t, we'd add 3 to both sides. So t equals 3. Okay, we have a second factor with a variable in it, and that is 8t plus 1. We'll set that equal to 0. First we'll subtract 1, which gives us 8t is equal to negative 1. And then dividing both sides of our equation by 8, t is equal to negative 1/8. Now if we go back to the question in the problem, it asks how long is the beanbag in the air. So we're talking about time. And I believe that it says that our time is in seconds. And if we're talking about time in seconds, that means we cannot have a negative value. So time cannot be negative. So that means that t equals -8 is not a possible solution. So t equals 3, or the beanbag is in the air for 3 seconds.